A prominent activist from the MeToo movement, Rose McGowan, recently called the Democrats the darkness, monsters, and liars. And for this, she's now being questioned. Is Rose McGowan Republican? Well, the answer is no. She just may be one of the few people with principles who's challenging the status quo. It seems to me that the Democrats just pander. It's all they've ever really done. Many of us who used to vote Democrat and no longer will, at least in this election cycle, probably thought there was a period where Democrats had principles. Upon looking back, it seems to me that's not the case. They were just saying whatever they had to say to get elected. And it would seem like Rose McGowan is noticing something similar as well, asking what have the Democrats ever actually done for anybody? For this, she's getting roasted and slammed by many on the left, including her former co-star on the show Charmed, Alyssa Milano. Now, to me, I think Alyssa Milano is a hypocrite. There's a few things she's done that I've given her credit for, but for the most part, she just rushes to the defense of Democrats, even though they are guilty of many of the things that Me Too has complained about. What we're seeing here, at least in my opinion, is more of the walk away style campaign or movement. It's not necessarily about voting for Trump, especially in the case of Rose McGowan. It's about people finally waking up and realizing the Democrats have been lying the whole time. I mean, going as far back as I can remember. Several years ago, I was very much in favor of Bernie Sanders. And then the Democrats kind of cheated. Well, they literally cheated him out of it. And it made me mad. I felt like the Democrats used to have principles, but in reality, it was just easier for the Democrats to pander. Now that the far left is taking over the Democratic Party, they're desperate to pander to the far left and to the more centrist, moderate types, and it doesn't work. It results in the mask being shattered because they're trying too hard to just pander, and it's all they have to offer. So let's do this. I want to take a look at what's going on with Rose McGowan and this kind of wake-up call that many are seeing, because what's really fascinating about what we're seeing with a Me Too activist is that we're actually seeing it in the black community as well. Kimberly Klacik is a black woman running for Congress with one of the most viral ad campaigns ever, slamming the Democrats for their failed leadership in many cities like hers, Baltimore. I think what we're seeing is that years of pandering with no actual plan or policy has resulted in total failure, and it can go on no longer. Now, this doesn't necessarily mean all of these people like Rose will come out and vote for Trump, but it certainly means they're not going to vote for the Democrats. So let's get started, and we'll start with what's going on with Rose and a viral hashtag that was trending, basically the top trend, Alyssa Milano is a lie. But before we do, head over to timcast.com/donate if you'd like to support my work. There are many ways you can give. There's a P.O. box, but the best thing you can do, subscribe to my channel. If you haven't subscribed already, just below the video player is a little subscribe button. Give it a tap, and now you are more likely to get my videos every day when they go up at 4 p.m. If you really want to help, hit the like button, the notification bell, and share this video, because I don't have a big marketing budget. I just have all of you who want to support my work, and that really will help. But let's read the first story. I find this fascinating. Is Rose McGowan Republican? Actor calls Biden and Democrats monsters and frauds. Right off the bat, it's important to note she is a prominent Me Too activist, one of the original people to come out and challenge those disgusting creeps in Hollywood. But just because she's going after Joe Biden doesn't mean she's a Republican. Certainly, many people are accusing her of helping Trump, even though she's still critical of Trump. I just want to say right off the bat, she just might have principles. Has anyone considered that? They like to say similar things about me, that I'm a conservative, and it's just not true. I'm just sick and tired of the hypocrisy and the lies from Democrats. I've never liked the Republicans. I don't know what you want me to say about them. But anyway, I digress. Let's read the story. Newsweek says, Rose McGowan has lashed out against Joe Biden and the Democrats just as Biden accepted the Democratic Party's presidential nomination this week. Taking to Twitter, the actress and Me Too advocate referred to the former vice president as the season of darkness. She tweeted, "You are the season of darkness, Joe Biden, DNC. You are monsters. You are frauds. You are the lie." Bravo, Rose. I completely agree with you. And I've never been a big fan of Trump as a politician. I say that because, look, as an entertainer, as a rich guy, I think he's hilarious. But I think we're allowed to be critical of the Democrats without being accused of being Republicans or conservative. Mind you, I have pretty much said I'm in all likelihood voting for Donald Trump this November for the simple reason that I do not want to see the Obama administration brought back in. I do not like Joe Biden. I do not like the Democrats. I think they're liars. And for that, I think Donald Trump has done some good things, but we'll get to that later. Let's keep reading. McGowan was referring to Biden's acceptance speech during the final night of the Democratic National Convention, when he promised to be an ally of the light and not the darkness, and told Americans, united we can overcome. But Rose, when she said, you are the season of darkness, perhaps she was right and she didn't even realize just how right she was. Well, I'm going to say this. I think she is right. And she was righter. She was more correct than she actually realized. Take a look at this story from the National Post. Joe Biden accused of plagiarizing from Jack Layton's final letter in nomination speech. Social media was quick to point out that the words were eerily similar to ones found in a letter Layton wrote before he died in 2011. They even note Democratic presidential candidate Joe Biden, a man not unaccustomed to allegations of plagiarism, is now being accused of copying the words of former new Democratic Party leader Jack Layton. Yeah, go figure. He's a liar. He steals his speech. He's done it before. He's lied about his credentials before. He is a liar. When I see Donald Trump speak, more particularly back in 2016, I saw a guy that I thought wasn't fit in terms of his demeanor. I understand why a lot of people liked the way he acted, what he was saying, because it felt like you had someone fighting for you, someone in your corner. But I can tell you this. I believed that Donald Trump really believed in what he was saying. When Trump comes out and says, this is what I want to do and why, I truly believe he means it. I really do. Does it mean he's perfect? Of course not. Does it mean he's always going to be successful and he's going to win every fight? No, absolutely not. But at least I can trust that he thinks what he's saying is what he wants. You know what I mean? Back in 2016, I thought Bernie was that candidate, and boy, did he sell out quick. Donald Trump, for all his faults, at least I know that when he says it, he means it. And that's better than I can, that's more than I can say for the Democrats. Now, mind you, McGowan isn't saying that about Trump. She's still critical of him. They say, later, addressing the Democrats in general, McGowan railed against apparent shortcomings and failures of the Democrats to stop a number of social issues like systemic racism and police brutality when in office. She wrote, what have the Democrats done to solve anything? Help the poor? No. Help black and brown people? No. Stop police brutality? No. Help single mothers? No. Help children? No. You have achieved nothing. Nothing. Why did people vote for Trump? Because of you, mother effers. Wow. I don't disagree. I think for the most part, what you get with Democrats are these people who don't have necessarily, most of them, what it takes to actually be successful and make their mark in history. So they found a cheap path. All they got to do is just say whatever they think you want to hear. You'll vote for them. They'll do nothing. And then nothing will get changed, except their name will be added to the list of significant individuals. I think that's what they want. They want the keys to the castle because they're not good enough to actually achieve anything. And this is true for many Republicans, too. In fact, I think most of the Republicans, to be completely honest, I don't like the Republicans. I really don't. When Donald Trump tried to pull the troops out of Afghanistan, it was Republicans and Democrats united in stopping him. And it was 8 Republicans and 3 Democrats who agreed with Trump to get our troops out of Afghanistan. So I think the whole system is broken. But what I'm really getting at here, especially with what Rose is saying, is shattering this mirage, this facade that has long sat in front of people like me, people like Rose, where we thought the Democratic Party was at least trying. Now I think I can see, like I was mentioning, I often felt that they changed. The Democrats changed. Now I no longer think that. Based on what I'm seeing now and the problems we see in these cities, I don't think they were ever actually for anything. I think they were just saying whatever they thought we wanted to hear. So going on, they say, McGowan is one of a few high-profile celebrities to call out Biden over assault allegations brought by his former staffer Tara Reade, allegations Biden denies. The fresh tirade against Joe Biden is not the first time the actress has blasted the Democrats, but the 46-year-old has a long history of attacking Trump as well. Here's a roundup of her views on both the Democratic Party and the GOP. They say, is Rose McGowan a Democrat? In April, the charmed star demanded Biden end his presidential bid and also deemed the Democratic Party a cult. Posting a tearful selfie, McGowan said she was once a proud Democrat. I would have died for this country and its ideals. I was raised to be a proud Democrat. When my youngest brother graduated as a fighter pilot at the Air Force Academy, I wore a Vote John Kerry pin. got into verbal altercations with big men who were mad I was a Democrat, she wrote. This is back from April, when there was this very, prominent moment where Rose came out and said, the Democratic Party is not what I thought it was. For me, I've realized it more and more and more. Absolutely. And a lot of people say Tim Pool, slowest red pill, whatever, but sure, fine. A lot of people are starting to realize this. I had an excellent conversation with Brandon Strzok, the founder of the Walk Away campaign, where he straight up says the Democrats have been lying, and he walked away. And as more and more people realize this, I think we should be optimistic about this. I know that Rose posted a teary-eyed selfie, but I think for the most part, this is a good thing. People are going to wake up. They're going to take the reins back and start voting for people who actually care. She said, I thought democracy meant I had a right to choose who lined up with my value system. But what if there's no one? Now I know too much, and I feel really quite a sense of loss tonight. She went on to say this is deeper than a cover-up, and I'm sad because there's death around all corners and shadows in the daytime. It hurts. Now I know too much, and I feel really quite a sense of loss. They say, is Rose McGowan a Republican? They go on to mention that she penned an open letter, and she blasting the Murdochs. To the Murdochs, she blasted Trump, and I believe she wrote an open letter against Trump in 2014. Here's the important point. Donald Trump is not the Republicans. He's absolutely not. There's a lot wrong with the man in terms of his professional demeanor, in terms of whether or not he's fit for the job. But I'll tell you this, at least I trust Donald Trump means what he's saying. I do. And I think the fake news has skewed people's perception of who he is and what he wants to do. But most importantly, he has improved greatly. I have to be absolutely fair. I know a lot of people, they get tired of hearing me say things where it's like, here's the reasons I've been critical of Trump, but there are legitimate reasons. I am not one of these, Trump derangement syndrome individuals. Trump brought on people like John Bolton. He was engaging in a lot of this really bad foreign policy early on, but he's been improving. And that to me is good enough. If he is going to do the right thing by the economy, I'm happy. If he's going to help the working class, I'm happy. If he is going to shore up our defenses, and if he is going to work to bring about peace in the Middle East, which he's recently done, and he's going to work to at least try to bring peace on the Korean Peninsula, I'm also really happy. All of those things say to me, hey, Trump's not that bad. In fact, he's pretty okay. I used to say he was bad, but not that bad. But he's improved. He's improved enough to where I have no problem saying he's actually kind of okay. He's a funny guy. And you know what? I am absolutely willing to vote for Donald Trump when it comes to this general election if it means awful people like Joe Biden and the failed Democrats are not given the keys to the castle again. Most important to say is that the Republican establishment right now in this viral tweet, take a look at this. Seeing in print in the Wall Street Journal, this list of Republican national security officials endorsing Biden is really something. This is basically every GOP luminary of the last 30 years saying enough to Trump. Stunning, really. Stunning, really. No, I'll tell you what. What that letter is proof that Trump was an insurgent who pushed his way into the Republican Party, knocked out the crony establishment, who went running, tail between their legs to the Democratic establishment saying, save us. Don't save them. They're all cronies. They're all corrupt. They've been running this country to the ground. They've been selling us out to multinational corporations against the interests of the American people. And I've had enough. And Donald Trump is far from perfect. But I will take the bull rampaging through the establishment over the establishment any day. You vote for Joe Biden, these deceitful, deceptive Democrats. And what you are doing is you are ensuring they get back in and they make sure the actual, the people of this country do not have a chance to restore our country. Donald Trump is not my first choice. For many, he is, and that's fine. I got no problem. I'm going to defer to Republicans at the local level even. Take a look at this story. Baltimore Republican House candidate Kimberly Klacik viral campaign ad. Democrats have failed Baltimore and black people. This ad is explosive. One of the most powerful campaign ads we have seen in a really long time. 10 million views, 154,000 retweets in 5 days. And what she does, Kimberly walks through Baltimore and shows just how awful the city is under the constant 53-year Democratic leadership. I should say Democrat leadership. I know Republicans tend to do that. They don't say Democratic Party, they say Democrat Party. And I think the reason for that is Democratic means something. It means we're all in this. We all vote. We put forward, our ideas. And in our constitutional republic, it means that we're having our voice heard. The Democrats are a political party with a brand name, so I understand why they do that. But anyway, more to the point. When I see ads like this, I tell you, they work. They absolutely do. I'm looking at Chicago, failed policy, corrupt mayor. New York, failed policy, corrupt mayor. LA, same thing. Portland, same thing. And you know what? I've had enough. I don't know. I don't believe that the Republican Party, as it was 4 years ago, was the right choice either, especially 15 years ago when they were moralistic and religious. Today, what I'm looking for are sane, rational, moderate Americans who believe in making this country better, helping people, pushing out the insane cultism of the left, like Rose McGowan said, the Democrats are a cult, and stopping cronies like Joe Biden. I am fearful of the absurd policies being put forward by the Democrats. So let me show you a couple things. In this story from the Daily Beast, we see hashtag Alyssa Milano is a lie. Trends on Twitter as Rose McGowan goes nuclear on Charmed co-star. Why? Well, Alyssa Milano created this really long thread about what the Democrats have done for America. See, Alyssa Milano said, what have the Democrats done to solve anything? In response, Alyssa Milano did this big thread of which she said, 1964, LBJ Democrat signs the Civil Rights Act of 1964, ending legal segregation and racial discrimination. While there is still a long way to go, Democrats lead the way. That is a lie. It was a lie then, and it's a lie now. In fact, it was the Democrats who had a record filibuster to try and stop the 1964 Civil Rights Act. Now, I will give credit where credit is due. LBJ, he did sign it. I get it. But the Democrats were not a unified party on this one. And today, I said this. But Alyssa, Democrats voted to repeal their civil rights legislation in California, and it's going to referendum soon. This is true. They call it the Affirmative Action Amendment. They would strike through the language that says, well, let me read it. Supporting Prop 16 will repeal Proposition 209, which stated that the government and public institutions cannot discriminate against or grant preferential treatment to persons on the basis of race, their gender, color, ethnicity, or national origin in public employment, public education, and public contracting. It was modeled off of the 1964 Civil Rights Act. The Democrats opposed it back then, and they're trying to repeal it in California right now. So don't give me that BS. I've had enough. And no, I am not saying the Republicans would do better, but I will absolutely defer to them if it means stopping this insanity. Anyway, I see tweets like this. Let me show you this. Jonathan Meech responded to Rose McGowan when she said, what have the Democrats done? He said that he's LGBT, Rose, and literally voted left many times. But he's having to vote for Trump now because he saw the hypocrisy in the Democratic Party. And every time he pointed it out to them, he would be shunned. And he just couldn't deal with it anymore. He said he lost friends. That's exactly it. When you say, hey, wait a minute, Joe Biden is a creeper. He gropes women. They say, shut your mouth. You're helping Donald Trump. Rose McGowan tweeted about it. She says, I wrote an anti-Trump open letter to the media in 2014. Your mainstream media built him. I was made fun of by both sides for writing this. So all of you saying I'm helping Trump get elected can suck it. Bravo, Rose. I love it. I love Rose coming out and saying no to both. I absolutely do. I'm not someone who is running to the Democratic Party gleefully saying that, I would now be called a conservative. No, quite the contrary. I'm saying this. You know what? I have in the past given support to Democrats. This year, I've donated to many Democrats, hoping I could try and salvage the party in some way. And then I realized it was all lies. Why? Well, many of the people I supported immediately just gave in to the establishment, and I've had enough. There is no saving. There is no saving the Democrats as far as I'm concerned. There's got to be a different party. So you know what I'm going to do? I may disagree with these Republicans. I may not be the biggest fan of Donald Trump as a politician, but I got no problem saying I'm going to let you guys give it a shot. You know why? Because I'm not seeing any success on this side. And other people are seeing the same thing. Oh, they'll try and tell you in all these ads that Trump supporters are regretting Trump-gret, they say. BS. Take a look at this from Axios. They say the voter registration gap between Democrats and Republicans has narrowed in some of these key states, according to Trump Victory and Axios' reviews of those records. But a lot of it has to do with voters switching parties or dropping out of the electorate. Not necessarily a surge of new voters. registering as Republicans, nor indicating new Trump voters, according to Dave Wasserman of the Cook Political Report. Let me break that down for you. In this story, they are saying that the Trump campaign and RNC have registered 100,000 new voters, closing the gap with Democrats, but they're not new voters. Democrats are losing voters and Democrats are switching to the Republican Party. That's what's closing the gap. Walk away is quite real, I assure you. It's not people walking from the Republicans to Democrats. No, Republicans are closing the gap. The gap is not widening. That means people like Rose are saying F the Democrats and walking away from the Democrats, not joining Republicans. And you have many other people that are either saying they're going to become Republican or they will support the Republicans. That's what's happening. Why? Because Joe Biden is a monster. He is the darkness. He is a liar. You vote for Joe Biden, you are voting for an establishment that furthered our wars in the Middle East. Barack Obama gave us many new wars. He gave us drone strikes. He bolstered our troops in the Middle East. It was a lie. Fool me once, shame on you. Now, I didn't vote for Donald Trump in 2016, and I especially did not vote for Hillary, because I'm not stupid enough to put the Obama administration back into office, because they've done a ton of really awful things. And I didn't want to vote for Trump either, because I felt fool me once, shame on you, fool me twice, etc. But Donald Trump did something that really spoke to me when he made moves to bring our troops out of Syria and Afghanistan. Trump, far from perfect, but hey, I will take what I can get. And right now, I am with the utmost respect. I am proud to see, I am excited to see people like Rose, a prominent MeToo activist, standing up and saying, no way. We need more loud voices that are willing to stand up and be defiant, even if it means a risk to their careers, their livelihoods, their safety, their lives. This is the kind of bravery we need to see. I do not expect anybody to come out and sing Trump's praises just because they hate the Democrats. Absolutely not. Rose is absolutely entitled to all of her opinions on Trump or any other Republican. But I am glad to see many people standing up, speaking up, and calling out the complete BS. And now, all of this may translate into the crushing defeat of Joe Biden. Biden gets no immediate convention bounce, but still leads Trump. No convention bounce. I mean, shouldn't he have? They say former Vice President Joe Biden saw no immediate measurable increase to his substantial lead over Trump following this week's largely virtual DNC. But he is being viewed more favorably by others. Now, that's fine. I get it. I don't know if these polls are right or what it means, but typically there's a post-convention bump in support. That's at least what I thought. Maybe not. I don't know. But it does seem like many people are now just coming out and saying straight up, nah, not interested. Here's a story from CNN. Young voters prefer Biden, but they may not vote. They didn't even come out for Bernie Sanders. In this story from March 11th, young voters love Bernie, just not enough. Sanders counted on young voters to carry him to victory. They didn't show up in large enough numbers. So I tell you what that means. When you see this newspaper where all of these swamp monsters come out and say Trump is bad, who expected anything otherwise? Now, is Trump perfect? Again, for the 50 billionth time, he hired John Bolton. Come on. Okay, he got rid of John Bolton, so that's good. John Bolton's a warmonger, by the way. I'm glad. Trump's improving. He's figuring things out. Trump said he was going to drain the swamp. He did not do the best of jobs, but he did a decent job. And now the swamp monsters are striking back. That's right. In the Wall Street Journal, they're all coming out and saying, no more Trump. You think I care about that? All this, you know what this is? It's an accidental endorsement of why Trump should be reelected. I want to see all of the cronies, all of the establishment, all of the warmongers, the DNC having these, these individuals speak. I'm not even going to say their names, just the warmongers speaking at their convention, talking about the need for war or supporting it. Just get out. They all run to the Democratic establishment, and now they are on the run. Trump has routed the establishment, the warmongers, the war hawks from the right to the left. He has routed them. And we are looking at their crushing defeat this November. It is a chance to say enough to the crony establishment that would send our men and women overseas to die for what? For what? No, honestly, you tell me. I've covered a lot of this stuff in the Middle East, and I just don't see it. I can respect some people who have come out and said they think there's a good reason. But they haven't given the American people a good enough reason. In fact, they've lied to us. They lied to us. And because of those lies, we have seen 100,000 plus dead, I believe in the past year alone in Afghanistan. Not all the fault of America, but partly, I would say it's fair to say it's the fault of us going in there in the first place. We have a chance to end this. Finally, we have a chance to shut down the establishment crony politicians who care about nothing nothing but getting themselves into office for power. Trump might not be what you want policy-wise, but he is still someone charging in. Now, I'm not a big fan of the enemy of my enemy is my friend. I don't view Trump or the Trump supporters as my enemy. Many progressives may, and they might not actually, join in on the Trump side, vote for Trump because they don't want to support him. Totally respectable. As it pertains to Rose, absolutely respectable. But I'll tell you what, for me, as the independent-leaning left, I view Trump as closer to where I am than the Democrats. They seem to be just liars who are trying to cheat their way into power. If Trump wins, it may be the final nail in the coffin to crush out the establishment. They're weakened. They are routed. The only thing they could muster was Sleepy Joe. It's their last best effort. And it may be the end of the crony establishment. Maybe the Democratic Party will still exist in some fashion, but I'm saying this to all the progressives. Your best opportunity for getting someone like Sanders into office, whether any of you like him or not, I'm not a fan of him, anymore. But if you want him in, you got to get past the establishment. They cheated to keep Bernie out. And dare I say, kind of twice. So Trump wins, they're done. And then you can form a new coalition and come in. That's your best bet. Trump winning. We'll see how this plays out. But if more people like Rose stand up and call them out, then I think there's a good chance we can actually get the will of the people restored in this country in more ways than one. We can bring back real conversations. Now, I got to say, for me personally, one of the reasons I think Trump needs to be elected, and many Republicans, particularly the new faces that are pushing out the establishment, is because we've got a creepy, dogmatic cult on the left that must be stopped. That's just what it is. So I'll leave it there. So again, my respect to Rose. You can see right here on this tweet, Alyssa Milano is a lie. To those who actually have principles and will call out the bad where it stands, regardless of party, you have my respect. Next segment's coming up at 6 p.m. over at youtube.com/TimCastNews. Thanks for hanging out, and I will see you all then.